Okay, guys, we're back. I'm sorry that you guys missed us. Um, we are back. For those of you that are over there, RG Homestead, John Wolf, the rest of you guys, I'll try to get the my folks here to get over there to them. Message RG Homestead for me there. Try to had some technical difficulties. It dropped. So, oh, there we go. There we go. Blissful Acres Home Off-Grid Homestead. Glad you found me again there. I had some technical difficulties. Hopefully RG Homestead and everybody else that was over there can join in. I'm not sure what happened. It went offline, but we are on a hotspot on our phone, so our internet service is not that great. Can you see me and hear me? Okay. So I had to switch computers and had some different things happen there. So good deal, Bliss Homestead. Our lighting is not that great in this camper. We've got dark paneling. It doesn't throw us in really good light. Hey, John Wolf. Good to see you here tonight. So I want to give a little bit of a backstory. Good evening again, John, RG Homestead. Yeah, we had some technical difficulties. I want to give a little bit of backstory on us. Most people know that if they've watched our channel at all, watched any of our videos, that we are in the Southwest. We're currently in New Mexico, but we have property in Arizona, and that we moved out here about 2 years ago. But 20 years ago, we actually lived off grid on the desert, and we've got quite a bit of experience living on the desert and living a subsistence lifestyle. We've done that sort of thing, and I've been getting a lot of questions from people who are. Thanks, RG, for mentioning that. Don't forget to hit the like button. Now we actually have AT&T, John. We actually have AT&T, and it works very well in Arizona. So I don't know how you feel about AT&T, but how long have we had Verizon? Or how long have we? I'm not sure about that question. I'm hearing myself over here in another phone, throwing me off. So back to what I was saying. We have a history of subsistence lifestyle and living on the desert. Oh, how long we live off? We lived about 5 years off grid until our kids until our kids came along. So then we moved back to Tennessee, and I had to take it help my parents, and we had a farm, had the horses and cows and pigs, and you name it, we had it. But we lived for about 5 years off grid, and my wife actually grew up that way. They had running water, but they didn't have any electricity on the Navajo Indian reservation. So we both come from subsistence lifestyle. But I've been getting a lot of questions from people who are thinking about moving to the desert, mostly because the thing that attracted us is the land prices. But they're really, for lack of a better word, some of them are naive that are contacting me about it because of some things, and that's what I wanted to go over tonight, and hopefully you guys can join in and put your 2 cents worth in. So the first thing I've got a little list here that I want to talk about, and we can talk about anything you guys want to talk about tonight. Is the country. The country is huge. The distance between towns and the distance between places that you have to go, I don't think people who are from east of the Mississippi, if you will, are really used to that. I know living in Tennessee, if you drove 80 miles, you were going a long way. Out here, you drive 80 miles and you don't think nothing of it. We drive 50, 60 miles just to go to one store. Um, and I think that that's one of the differences in, a more suburbanized area. Everything is really close and you don't have to travel outside your circle. Where our homestead is, we're 30 miles from the nearest store, and we're uh, RG says, "How's the Hogan going?" Well, for those you don't know, I got hurt at work and I messed up my knee, so we have not been working on the Hogan. We've got to get back down there as soon as the doctor lets me go and gets me out of physical therapy. So that's where we're at on the Hogan. We've got to get a 4-wheeler. Um, Pulling those logs by hand is no fun. But what was I talking about? I don't know what I was even talking about. Talking about the distance. When you live in an area where everything is close, um, it's kind of easy. But if we're an hour from the nearest Walmart, hour and a half. Yeah, where our homestead is now, where we're staying at right now, we're managing an RV park, saving money, and we don't have to pay any rent here. So we're saving up all of our money to work on our homestead. We're about 3 hours from our homestead. So yeah, 4-wheeler. Yeah, you bet. Hey, in the yard, all the way from Australia. Hey, man, how's it going? I was watching some of you had a little bit of an ATV an ATV adventure there. I was watching. Uh, I still don't know what a Yarby is, but I didn't quite get that far. I had a lot going on there. But if you could fill me in on what a Yarby is, I really appreciate it. I think that's what you're talking. It's my mule and a play toy at the same time. RG Homestead. Yeah, we've got to get a 4-wheeler. We've got horses, but it's kind of a hassle to try and get them hauled down there, and a lot of times we don't have more than a day or two at the most to work on stuff down there. So we really need something that doesn't take a food to fuel it. We need something we can just throw on the back of a trailer and take off down there. And that's another thing. Thanks for bringing that up, RJ. If you're moving out here, you're going to have something other than just. I was talking to these one people, and they had a Subaru Outback. That was what they had, and they're coming out here thinking about moving on to 40 acres in the desert, and they have no water. How are you going to haul water? You're either going to have to hire somebody to haul water, or you're going to have to take an upgrade. So before you even get started, that's kind of where we're at. 4-wheel drive was one of the things that I was going to talk about tonight a little later, but we can bring it up now. That's what we're working towards right now is a 4-wheel drive truck, because we've got 4 miles of dirt road. We're 9 miles off of pavement, and then our driveway is. If you've seen any of our videos, you know it's no piece of cake. Our Chevy Traverse, it's all-wheel drive, and it'll go about anywhere. But we haven't been down our road yet with a lot of weather, so that's another thing. So the distance between stuff, getting back to that, it's a long way out here for driving. The yarbies are crawfish. Oh man, in the yard says yarbies are crawfish. That man, I could go for some crawfish. We used to that's another thing we was gonna bring up tonight is hunting and fishing and a subsistence lifestyle. Excuse me, out on the desert, hunting and fishing. We would travel when I was a kid, living in Colorado. We would travel, half a day to go fishing, and we would catch as many fish as we could and freeze them. RG says hauling water is very hard on a small car SUV. We are 6 miles on a dirt road and is not maintained by city state. So fun. Yeah, ours is maintained like twice a year. They run a grader down it twice a year. Um, we actually have a neighbor who's been living there for about 2 or 3 years that borders our property, and they say about twice a year the graders that's all they come through there. So when it rains, it gets rough, and if you don't have a very uh, stout old West homestead in the house, glad you guys could stop by. Anna Woodson photography. That's my daughter. She's over here watching. So our roads are not that great. That gets me into talking about the roads and the terrain. Um, if all you're used to is blacktop, if all you're used to is county maintained roads, even gravel roads, you're going to be very disappointed if you move out to the desert. You move out into the desert because of most of the roads are not maintained. They're usually hard packed sand or dirt. And if it rains, if you don't have 4-wheel drive, if you don't have a very stout vehicle, they will get beat to death. You can look on uh, any used car lot in this country, and you can find cars that are just beat up from running on these old desert roads. Uh, See what we got. In the yard says, I love hunting. I'm going hunting kangaroos soon to stock the creek again. I've never had kangaroo. I've eaten a lot of things, but I've never had kangaroo. I'm gonna have to try that one day. And Galvin's in the house. Galvin Tocini. RG Homestead says 4x4 is a must if you go off grid in northern Arizona, or a lot of walking to get out. Yeah, you're going to get stuck a lot. Blissful Homestead says 4 miles of bad dirt road. Rain means 2 days. Wait to go anywhere. Wow. Kangaroo meat's really good, huh? Well, I like I said, I've eaten possum and I've eaten coon. I've eaten gator, but I've never had kangaroo. Had it when I was in the military many years ago. Wow, RG Homestead. I'm I'm up for anything. I'll try anything once. Um, so, so that yeah, your dirt roads. If you're coming out here to the desert, if you're coming out to Homestead, just you need to get rid of the minivan and you need to get you something that all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive with plenty of clearance and some aggressive tires. Um, and like we were talking about earlier with water, if you don't have something that will take and at least haul 250, 300 gallons of water on a regular basis. We're not talking about once in a while. We're talking about weekly, if not bi-weekly at that much. So there are exceptions to the rule. I mean, you can buy properties that are, closer to wells and closer to water and closer to amenities. You can find them, but the prices are going to be high. And one of the reasons we moved, we bought that homestead. It's in the middle of nowhere. We're in the middle of 250,000 acres and one neighbor, and
lots of trees.
And lots of trees. We wanted lots of trees. We did not want to be on a barren wasteland. we wanted some cedar trees. So
they do deliver water out there.
There are places where they will deliver water. It is quite expensive. I would say anybody that's thinking about moving off grid, do some research. Do some research on the country. RG says, I love the city slicker that come out here in the summers in their city cars and laugh at them seeing things. Yeah. I've seen it, and I've got some people contacting me, emailing me and calling me and saying, how is it out there? And I tell them that the roads are rough. You really need to prepare. That's why it's taken us so long to get down there. I don't want to be down there with no backup plan and end up not being able to do it and having to move back. That's why we're taking a long time. Plan. and plan some more. So we've covered water, uh, water hauling. There are wells. You can buy some places with wells. But the last estimate that I got to drill a well where we're at, it's 750 feet down, and it'll cost about $30,000. You have to get a deep well uh, driller to drill 750 feet, and then you've got to figure out a way to get it out of the ground. There are some solar units out there that will pump water out of the ground, but 750 feet is deep. You're going to need a big pump, and or maybe two to get it up out of the ground at that point. So that brings us to our next thing is water catchment. Um, Water catchment is a must. Anybody that's on the desert, and you guys back me up here, water catchment is everything needs to be catching water. Even if you have an outhouse, it needs to be catching water. Your chicken coop needs to be catching water. If you're thinking about coming out to the desert to homestead, you need to check out Homestead Anonymous. Joe at Homestead Anonymous, he's got a lot of information on there about water catchment. I did a lot of research on his channel. He got a lot of likes and a lot of views from me. And Handyman's pretty good. I've watched a lot of his stuff, and those are really good. YouTube is a valuable tool if you're wanting to learn anything, in my opinion. Just about anything you can find out there, and do your research and plan. So rainwater catchment, everything needs a gutter on it. Wells, bores here are expensive as well. That's what I hear in the yard. I've got a buddy of mine who lives in Australia, and he says that they are really expensive over there. So we talked about water, and anybody have? We set up tubs, build them up. All this rain should be good for everything down there. We've been getting a lot of rain down there in the area. We had a storm pass through here, and we had 2 days of rain. And I know the Green Dream Project, they filled back up their tanks. They caught, I think he said something over 1,200 gallons through this rain, and had runoff. If he had more tanks, he could have filled more tanks. So he's a character. Go check him out, Jim and Jessica over at the Green Dream Project. RG says water in my area goes for $85 a well. As well, in my area, about 1,000 feet, around $100,000, and not guaranteed. Yeah, $85 a foot. The deeper you go, the more expensive it is because you got to get a bigger rig in there, and that's someplace where they can drive that rig up. You know, just because you want to drill a well there doesn't mean they can get that big rig in there. A smaller rig that's only going to drill, I think everybody I talked to said that the smallest rig could drill up to about 400 feet, and then after that they were going to have to bring in a deep well driller, and those rigs are heavy. You're talking about a big tandem axle, huge truck, heavy truck, and if you don't have a good road into your homestead, getting that in there, and you can build for $30,000. I can build a massive shed, a massive barn that's going to catch a lot of rain. It's going to catch a lot of water. And we average where we're at about 11 inches. Blissful Homestead says, our plans changed when Rob got hurt, also putting a fence to keep you out of there. With all the issues, what is the difference between desert and Tennessee? Land can be had with no restrictions. Some sounds like the cost balances out. No. And they're passing a lot of laws in most counties where you have to be hooked to the grid. One of the things that we wanted to do was be responsible for our own energy and our own way of lifestyle. Not only that, there's just overpopulation there. You can't spit without somebody knowing it. We had 2 acres. we lived in a county that had very few restrictions, but you had to live on grid, and you had to have a septic. In Arizona, you can have a composting toilet. You don't have to have a septic. You can even have an outhouse. The only thing that where we're at in Apache County is you have to have some type of septic for your black water, what they call black water, for your sink, your kitchen sink. They consider kitchen sink water black water. But in Tennessee, land is it is out the roof in price. I mean, you can't afford to buy it, and without going into huge debt. We looked at land in Tennessee, and the other thing about it is the humidity. It is always wet in Tennessee, some way, form, or fashion. Yeah, you can. This is a bad year. It's the monsoon season. Don't count on the water catchment system to make that stuff. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes the rain don't come. You know, whereas in Tennessee, it rains all the time. You're either it's either feast or famine there. It's real easy to grow stuff, but at the same time, it's always wet, and it's harder to unplug from society, if you want to say that, or it's harder to take and unplug from there because everything is right there. It's hard to find affordable land. You want to buy an acre or two, there are some counties you can buy it cheap, but it's going to be rough, and it's going to be rocky, or it's going to be hillside. It's not going to be flat land that you can actually do something with. They're in a drought. We're in a drought there. Yeah, there's a lot of places that are in a drought right now. I know in New Zealand and in Australia they're having drought. So having a backup plan um, is always good. RG Homestead was talking about hauling water. Even if you have a rain catchment, you better have a backup plan, and you've got to keep looking for sources for water. There are some places that have community wells, but you can't count on them. In a drought, if you have a 7-year drought, those wells may go dry. The water table may drop enough that you don't you don't you don't have any water there. I've heard of that happening too. So counting on a well, counting on rain catchment, always have a backup. I'm actually looking right now for a water truck, um, at least 1,000 gallons. California, New Mexico is short on water and rain. Yeah, and there's a lot of well drilling going on in Arizona that is draining the water table. Uh, my son coming in with his headlamp. He's been out in the cold. Um, so they're draining the water table, so you really can't do it. Apache, do you have to have engineered plans for living quarters? No, they have different. In Apache County, they have different um, requirements for different things. If you're going with a stick built house, then they want to have plans. If you are doing a straw bale house or a what we're thinking about doing, we've changed our mind 10 times. I'm glad we don't have the money to do it, but we uh, we are looking at a earth bag house, and the requirements are different for those. You just basically submit your plans, and they approve them or disapprove them. They will take um, and work with you. They're really Apache County is a really good county. I will tell you that. I have talked at length with the buildings and codes, and they are really good people to work with. They'll send you all kinds of information, and they'll talk to you. So they're really good. Earthing is the best. I'm all about the earth bag. I've been a follower of my little homestead for for a lot of years, ever since they started, just about. And I'm really like that. I can build anything, but when you start talking about costs, and that goes back to distance, you've got to figure in the cost of transportation of those materials to that home site. Whereas earth bag, you're using the material for the most part. You're gonna need lumber and you're gonna need concrete. You're gonna need a few things, but for the most part, you're using the resources that you have on your place, and that I think is another cost saving uh, issue there that most people don't look at. They look at the cost of what a two before costs, but they don't take and think about the cost it's going to take to haul that. And when you start figuring in that, and you're an hour and a half from a major store, I mean, we don't have where our homestead is located. We don't have a Lowe's or Home Depot that's less than an hour and a half away. Well, by the time you drive to town and you pick up that one thing you forgot and drive back, that's 3 hours. So, for me to also check out Cal Earth in Hesperus, California. Okay, well, I have to check that one out. I'm a big fan of using resources that are local. That's why we started at Hocon, and then I got hurt. We were only getting down there about once or twice a month to work on stuff, and then I got hurt, and I love that. RG says Yavapai has codes for just about everything. Look before you leap. In buying land in Arizona, each county is different. You better believe it. There are some that say you can only camp out on your property for 30 days. Some of them say 120 days. Um, it's it's all different. Before you go and buy online property, the property that we bought, I looked at it for 3 years before I bought it, and I did research. I drove her crazy looking at stuff, calling people, talking to her about something. She's like, "We're not even there yet. What are you doing?" I'm like, I got into it. I mean, I was obsessed. And finally, the guy that had it for sale come down on it enough that I said, "Oh yeah, I'm buying." She goes, "You ain't even been there." I didn't even go out there and drive and look at it. I just did my research online about the community and talked to people. I called people who live there. So you know, I jumped on it when it came available. And when we went out there to look at it, it was everything that I had already seen. Google Maps is huge. You can see a lot on Google Maps. Um, Google Earth will show you a ton if you're looking at to buy property. Research, plan. Thanks, RG, for that, bringing that up. So we've covered Big Sky at 9. Hey, glad you stopped by. Glad you stopped by. Every Get everything right in county can change things overnight. Look up Still County, Colorado, 22 county destroyed. Yeah, there was a lot of people who moved into that area. I remember that. If you're looking at off grid, you'll find that there was a lot of people that got hung out to dry on that and couldn't even live on their property. Sorry, Verizon's down for a few. I missed the beginning. That's okay. We're just talking about living off grid and the differences between that and other places. So the weather, we've been talking about rain. The other thing that's different from other places on the desert is sand. You have sand in your shoes, sand in your shorts. You have sand in your car, sand on your table. I think it's windy, and the wind blows sand everywhere. When we lived off grid, we lived in a 16 by 20 cabin, and literally you was eating sand because sand would blow in. If you open the door, sand would blow in. And we have times out here where the wind never quits. I mean, it blows for 3 months straight. You think, is it ever going to quit blowing? And your animals, food, drop it every. Yeah, your dogs bring in sand. That and goat head birds. If there's anybody on here that's not used to living on the desert, there's a little thing called 360 days a year, 5 days when you can sit outside, right? Not get sandblasted. Now, there's this little plant out here. Some people call it a bullhead. Other people call it a goat head bird. It is about as bad as a Lego. The worst part is it'll break off and be in your foot. And the dogs carry them in, and we carry them in. And there's places. The other day we just went out driving. I'm about to go stir crazy in this from being laid up, my knees. But we went driving, and I got out to check the tire, and the tire was covered in bullheads and goat heads. And I'm like, golly, those things are terrible. It's always windy here in Australia. Wind, I've heard a lot of good things. It's windy. We have a lot of sunshine, but I haven't heard a lot of good things about wind generators. Is anybody in the chat right now that has any kind of? I haven't watched every single video of everybody, but does anybody have any experience with wind generators? Everything I've heard is not that great. So I don't know how well they are. Those goat heads sound nasty. They are nasty, and they spring up everywhere. Don't forget about pack rats eating up your car. I hadn't got into the rodent part yet there. Pack rats. If you live on the desert, you're going to have one or two. You're going to have two things. You're going to have mice, rodents, and snakes. And the snakes are coming there to get the rodents. And if you have any food, you really got to take it and seal your food up. Your food has got to be in a container where they can't get to it. Because if they can get to it, they will get to it. They're worse than bears. I'm behind on the chat here a little bit. Just hearing from neighbors who tried it and they get destroyed by gusts. I've heard stuff like that where the wind just tears their wind generator down. Yes, in New Mexico, Nicole Dulce, vehicle at night to keep out there. You're in New Mexico. Yeah, metal trash cans. Yeah, for your feed, especially for your animals. Hang Irish, Big Scott Knight says, hang Irish Spring soap in the mesh bag under your vehicle that don't move and they don't like the smell and will stay away. Also, cat tail. Do not use plastic glass for storage. Yeah, it's got to be metal. I've seen pack rats chew through a 5-gallon bucket to get the feed, even though it has a lid on it. You really got to have a good storage system, and that goes back to planning. You got to have a storage system and a plan. You go out there half cocked to homestead on the desert. You'll be lucky if you end up saving your marriage. Because it can get bad real quick if you don't plan. RG said, system. I have one for my garage and it works well for me. I was wondering, RG, how tall is it and how stable is it? It would have to be pretty stable from what I can see. It's going to have a pretty solid foundation because we get 50-mile-an-hour gusts. I have a video on my wind generator. I'll go check that out. Make sure if you're interested in wind generators, go check out RG Homestead's wind generator. I'll go check it out. Yeah. We use old chest freezers. We look for them to put our feeds in. But you want to make sure that they have solid bottoms. What would your input be between Apache and Cochise elevation location? Ever considered cowhide? Not sure about cowhide. I prefer Apache County just because of the codes. Cochise. Yeah, spell correct is awesome, ain't it? Apache County with the codes and everybody. I would prefer Apache County. The elevation, we're at 6,600 feet, and we have a really good change of seasons from what we've seen. The summer is 85. It might have got 90. Nicole says you have no code. Where are you at, Nicole? But on the positive side, our views are like no other, amazing and small town. You can live closer to communities. I mean, you can live closer in. It really depends on where you're going to go. The chat's going so fast I can't keep up with you guys.
And now you're on to ants.
Yeah, ants, meat ants. Yeesh. That sounds. We do have red ants. We have stinging ants. And the best thing for ants, you guys, if anybody has ant problems out there, is grits. Dump grits on their hole. They'll take them back. I'm not kidding you. It'll blow the ants up. I've done it, and it works. It works better than anything else. We've used borax. We've used different stuff, homemade remedies.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, grits, just regular old grits. Dump them in the hole. List below, our wind, Gene, will be a 40 foot tower. Nicole is in Carton County. Is that Belen? Is that near Belen, Nicole? I don't know if that's near Belen. Let's see what else I missed here. Grits. I don't know if you know, in yard homestead, a grit is a corn. It's a cracked corn. No, near Rama. Okay, I know where Rama is. Rama, I actually looked at some property over there. We actually looked at some property over there before we bought our homestead down in Arizona. I like the Cochise, or not Cochise, Apache County, more than anywhere else. I like the trees. I like the elevation. We get snow there. We get a pretty good fall. We get a nice spring. Yeah, we had 3 feet last year. Right on our homestead, and that was late in the year. I mean, that was like in February. We had 3 feet of snow. I like my season. A lot of other places depends on your personal preference. If you're gonna take a homestead off grid, if I had the money and if I had the time, I would have done more driving around. The other reason, my personal preference, that we are where we're at, we're only 3 miles from her family. 3 miles, 3 hours. I'm getting tired, guys. I've been talking for 37 minutes. We're 3 hours from her family. So that's pretty good. Dried grits don't work on meat ants. I'm not sure what a meat ant is, brother, but they sound mean. We have snow right now. We're almost 8,000 feet near Cibola Forest on the Continental Divide. Wow. That's up there, 8,000 feet. I'd say you guys do get some snow. I don't want that much snow. Always give you.
Yeah, I did.
The meat ants in the yard says they're nasty. How bad are the snakes at that elevation? At 6,600 feet, we do have them. We have rattlesnakes, rattlesnakes and bull snakes. The bull snakes I leave alone. Listen, we are at 3,100 feet. Wow, where's the contrast? 8,000 feet, where Nicole's at 3,100 feet. You are on the desert. That's why we call our high desert homestead. That's why we call it that, because we are at 6,600 feet. And bull snakes and rattlesnakes are the two that I have seen. And we leave the bull snakes alone. They eat rodents and they eat other rattlesnakes. I leave them alone. And that's something that you just kind of got to learn to live with them. They will hiss at you. Big bull snakes will hiss at you. You can generally smell them if they get mad. They put off a musk smell, but they will take and eat rattlesnakes, and they will take and eat rodents. So, you see a bull snake, don't run over it. It might save your life. Don't kill it. It might save your life. Bull snakes are always good. What you suggest? Growing. I suggest everybody's on the desert have a greenhouse. I'm going to do a sunken greenhouse. That's one thing I was going to talk about. A sunken greenhouse is a must. You've got to have some way to start your vegetables and your greens early, so that by the time the weather changes and you can move them outside. And there's some things you can grow in there. Um, RG Homestead. We have diamondbacks and Mojave green along with mountain lions. Yeah, we got mountain lions, bobcats. I've seen tracks of both. Coyotes by the dozen. Overkill in a building is a must. Yeah, the wind will tear apart a really good built shed. So Big Sky sunken is definitely the way to go. Wind won't destroy it. Yeah, a sunken greenhouse. Get back to what I was saying. I get distracted by the speed. Trying to keep up there, buddy. Keep us up on your growing. So glad I found you. Okay. Yeah. You need a sunken greenhouse. Number one, it protects you from the wind, and it gives you an extended growing period. Because by the time July and August come around, your temperatures are hot. The winds start picking up in April, and they blow where we're at down there. They'll blow for 2 months sometimes. And then your monsoon season doesn't come along till July and August. And you really got to extend your growing period out as much as you can. Now, if you're looking at building a greenhouse with a heating source, you can grow vegetables all year round. You can grow greens all year round. And there's a lot of greens out there. Don't forget to hit the like. Thank you, RG. Appreciate that. You can grow greens all year round. There's a lot of greens out there that have a lot of iron. During the winter months, you need to keep your iron level up. So kale, um, there's a lot of turnip greens and stuff like that that you can grow all year round in the greenhouse if you have a little bit of heat. Um, and keeping the wind off when you're growing. There are, and you can go to your local, if you have a local, local for us, you can go to your local greenhouses and your local people that have been there and established. Um, if you go to them and see what they're growing, what we generally do is we save seeds from fruits and vegetables that are grown at our altitude. If we buy something, we like to buy locally grown, locally sourced um, fruits and vegetables. That way we can save those seeds and then we can grow them and we know that they have been brought into the elevation and they're acclimated to it. You go and buy seeds offline, they may grow, they may not. This last year, we had a guy who grew stuff and he just bought some seeds offline. They wouldn't even sprout. And that may have been the company, but I've heard of that before. So, um, hoop houses, hoop houses. It's there. It's pretty like Big Sky said there. Steph, she's talking. It's windy for a hoop house. I mean, it better be made out of steel. It ain't gonna be made out of PVC. I was just looking at somebody's. May have been Blissful Acres. I can't remember who it was. I was watching one of the videos and the wind just tore their hoop house completely off of a railroad tie foundation. Um, Worried about my pigs. Nothing local out here. If you can take and get anything to grow in a greenhouse and acclimate it to your elevation, look at the types of plants that are growing around you. That right there is one thing that's going to take and be a big determining factor. You can always change the environment. You can add stuff to your soil. You can take and you can put up wind barriers. All those things can be done to change your growing environment. But look at what's growing there. Look at the types of vegetation that's growing there. And that's going to give you, and look not only what's growing there, but when do they grow their best? What time of year is it? And you kind of got to follow nature to look at your berries, look at your edibles. Pretty much if a cow can eat it, you can eat it. So look at those types of things for your greens. I'm big on spinaches and kales and lettuces. I love to grow those. We love to have a salads in the early spring. It's light, and even through the summer, we eat what's in season. So those types of things, see what's growing, and then plant those things in accordance to how nature around you uh, grows. We got a lot of stuff here. Worried about my figs, bananas, and baby avocado trees. Ooh, baby avocado trees. Not many gardens out here. Not in the open. That's a big difference from uh, pinon and junipers. All I see, Nicole says, was cold pintos used to grow here. Yeah, pinto beans. Pinto beans are pretty hardy. You can grow pintos just about anywhere. There's some highland, high desert to the north of us over in Yellow Jacket, Colorado, Dove Creek, Colorado, and they grow pintos actually dry land. They rely 100% on rain. But you got to look at the growing uh, length, your growing days. How many days does it take to grow that particular product? And that's when you gotta take and look at your time schedule and get those in the ground. Um, we just did a video not just the other day on pinyons. You can actually they are they bear fruit every 4 years. So you can take and actually harvest the pinyons, and you can take and roast them and eat them. That's what we were talking about earlier: hunting and fishing and gathering. Um, there's a lot of different ways to have a subsistence lifestyle on the desert. Hunting is a big part of it. You can get a deer tag, you can get an elk tag, and you may have to take and drive, you may have to take and travel in order to get that. But if you get one, the payoff is huge. You get an elk, you can get 900 pounds of elk meat um, in one thing. So use a salve for salve. Yeah. There's a lot of different salves and a lot of different ointments you can make out of pinon salve for sure. The other thing that we do, and some people think we're crazy, but we'll go find and we look for it. Just because you don't grow it on your homestead doesn't mean that homesteading is surviving. Okay, we'll go to like we did this year. We went and picked apricots at an orchard that had irrigation. And if you can go to places like that and gather that stuff in, then you can can it, you can take it, you can save it, you can eat it. Bye, y'all. In the yard. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. All the way from Australia. I'm gonna catch up on all your videos. So keep them coming. We'll give you the old thumbs up, and we'll be watching for more videos. Got you. Appreciate you stopping by. So we go to places like that. And the other thing is, anybody who lives on the desert, now there's exceptions to the rule. There's people that can grow everything. They can grow, if they've got irrigation, they've got enough water, they can grow everything they need. There are exceptions to the rule. Uh, we got a compound, can't pull it. You need a gun. It only takes one bullet to get a deer or elk. So what we do is we'll go find apricots and we buy in bulk also. We are blessed up here. We have what's called NAPI, Navajo Agricultural Products and Industry, and they sell a 50-pound bag of potatoes for like $5. I mean, you can take and you can buy 150 pounds of them and you can can them and you've got potatoes all winter long. In my family, I learned how to can real early. I canned with my grandma, I canned with my mom, and uh, you've got to take and when you live on the desert, there again going back to distance, you're having to drive an hour and a half. You don't buy a 5-pound bag of flour. Okay, she makes tortillas. I can't do it. I can cook, but I can't cook tortillas. She makes tortillas, but we'll go through a 25-pound bag of flour. We make our own biscuits. We make our own tortillas, and we try to not, buy pre-made stuff. So, uh, yeah, RG, yeah, always check out the area, check out what grows best there. Try to get as many people that she makes good fried bread. You know she does, Nicole. She makes good fried bread. We eat Navajo tacos too. Uh, but the growing area, you've got to see what grows good in that area. I like to go find the old people. I'll go hunt up the old people and find out what they grow, find out how they grow. Um, you've got to take and get as many resources as you can. Talk to as many old people as you can, and they'll tell you what used to grow good there, what grows good there, what they grow there, and you know go with that and do research. I don't know if they have different agricultural offices. The one in Apache County, they work really good. Like I said, I've done the research, I've talked to them, and they can help you out with a lot of that. Look at like climates, see what people are growing in other like climates at the same elevations. It doesn't even have to be in your state. Um, just see what's growing in those. And like I say, YouTube's another great deal for that. If you're gonna go off grid to the desert, I'm not saying don't watch these other homesteaders. They've got a lot of good ideas. Um, they've got a lot of good information. I like watching them. They're in North Carolina. They're in Michigan. There's a lot of other these guys that I watch. But if you're looking at planning on moving to the desert, you can't take stuff that works in North Carolina, not all of it, and bring it to the desert and expect it to work. There's different growing techniques in the desert. You can do terracotta pots, what they call oyas. You can do underground greenhouses. You can do drip systems. You can do straw bale. I know Big Sky and I did straw bales, and hers turned out pretty good. If you go check out one of the best ones I've seen this whole year was now I forgot the name. It's not midlife crisis. It's the other one. I can't even say the other name. Upside of downside. Go check out their place. Now they have a lot of trees, so they have a lot of windbreak. But he usually overbuilds stuff anyway. And they had a fantastic. It was small. It wasn't enough to live on. The idea of moving to the desert. Desert is harsh. I like the other video. Straw bale is good for straw bale garden. Yeah, if you're doing straw bales, I think it works. But you're going to have a huge area to grow all of your fruits and vegetables, all of your greens, everything. It's just, in my opinion, on the desert. And I'm not saying that there's people out there that don't do it. Um, you're you're going to be hard pressed to grow everything you're going to eat in the desert. You're going to have to outsource somewhere, and that's where raising animals, um, raising chickens, raising that sort of stuff. You can supplement your income by selling your excess. You can sell excess. We want to do sheep and goats. When we get down there, we've done sheep and goats on the desert before. They do really well on the grass that's there. And you can sell your lambs. You can take and sell your wool. You can do those type of things to supplement your income in order to buy in bulk. Uh, and that's another huge thing right there. You've got to plan these things in to your lifestyle where you're going. You know, you can't go. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna grow 6 acres of garden. It's in Tennessee, yeah. In North Carolina, yeah. Well, careful of straw bale or hay chemicals mess up ground and garden. I seen a video on that today. There was the straw bales, how they were raised, the chemicals that was used on them. They there was some leak, I guess called wicking into the ground. I heard of that. bed did well. Use all the branches, leaves, etc. Yeah, I seen that video where you guys took and put all kinds of organic material and then put the dirt on top of the soil on top of it. It's really good. Sunken beds work really good on the desert. That's another thing you can use to escape the wind. When you're talking about wind and you're talking about heat, you're fighting dehydration, even in yourself, your plants, yourself, everything. The wind's going to take it out of your plants. The sun's going to take it out of your plants. So you've got to think about wind breaks. You've got to think about how to plan out your homestead. You can't just throw it up out there and expect it to flourish if you don't do your background on how the wind goes and where the wind goes. Where's the most sun? The sun is always in full force 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon when it's setting. That's when it's the hottest. 3 to 5, the hottest part of the day. So you've got to watch where you plant at so that your plants are not getting the blast of that solar heat. You've got to take it in that time they need shade. In the morning, they do really good in the morning. We generally take and after the sun has gone down, that's when we run water. If you run water at those times, we used to take and do it. We grew potatoes on a wash bed. We would go down and we actually watered with a 55-gallon drum, and we watered our potatoes when we lived off grid. We took and watered our plants, and the way that the uh, the garden area, the little wash bed was positioned, they got really good morning sun. But when the sun was going down, they had trees along the wash to take and guard them from that solar sun. So all those things you have to take into consideration when you're planning your homestead. Go back to plan some more. Let's talk outhouses. How many of you have a composting toilet? How many of you have an outhouse? I when we lived off grid, 20 years ago, we had an outhouse. And in Apache County, you can have an outhouse. In Arizona, it's a state regulated deal. It's not by county. So you're going by the state health board. They will send you figure 500 gallons for a small garden in this area. 500 gallons of water. Yeah. Composting toilet, no outhouse. How do you like that composting toilet? I see them. I know people who use them. I'm not a huge fan. Me personally, I was raised on outhouse. I've had outhouses my whole life, and I don't know something about. I'm still squeamish about they going to the bathroom in a house. Okay, I would rather be outside. That's just me. But the state of Arizona, we also do indoor composting bugs. Yeah. Banana John. We also do indoor composting. But yeah, at night, if it's down to 30 degrees, I don't like going out in the cold. Have to be indoors. Yeah, at night when it's cold, a bucket is fine. But I'm just not a big fan of using the composting toilet. When we lived off grid, it got down to 30 below, and we were at the foot of a mountain, okay, and it got cold there. We got snow there, we got rain there, it was nasty. We got ice, and trust me, I was not going to the outhouse then. we had a bucket. I think that's a good idea, Paul. But the state of Arizona does have plans. You can download them. 1,000 cattle, sheep, feed, 1 human dump. We all have our shot. Something wrong. Yeah, John. They want to regulate. They want to regulate everything you do. It seems like anymore. If we think we live in a free country, we're fooling ourselves. They're either going to regulate it or tax it. So, you know, that's the way it goes. Uh, Blissful says, getting there on compost, but what do you use? Not much here to cover. You either have to have straw or sawdust or something um, for that. And I don't know, I guess you could use sand. I don't know. We've got plenty of sand, but I use peat. You got peat moss where you're at? We don't have any peat moss. We've got sand. We got a lot of sand. RG says, been there and done that. No, so septic is for us. I'm definitely going to have a septic. Um, I'm always going to have an outhouse. You know, I don't like to run in from outside when I'm working. And you have to buy the peat moss, Nicole says. Okay. I think some places you can buy wood chips. If there's a sawmill within, 100 miles, you can go. We got sand. Everybody on the desert got sand. But yeah, I'm definitely. I don't like to go in the house from outside. I don't. I would rather. I'd rather take and just go to the outhouse. Take and build an outhouse. Like I said, Arizona, they will send you. The health department will send you a plan, and you get a permit for it. There's no cost for the permit, and they don't inspect.
They send you a plan.
They send you the plan for it.
Build the outhouse.
I've got a copy. If anybody wants one, I can private message me and I'll take it and I'll send you what I got. Don't get to talk about free range cattle. Okay. RG Home says, yes, Arizona is a fence out state. For anybody that is not familiar with that, Green Green Song approved system of free barrels. Yeah. Arizona is a fence out state. So that means you have the right to fence out animals. So in the state of Arizona, animals can go wherever they want unless you tell them they can't, unless you make sure they can. You have to fence off your property in order for them to not come on your property. You said we're in the middle of 250,000 acres where our homestead's at, and there are no fences. The 250,000 acre tract is fenced. It has a guardrail on one end, a guardrail on the other end. That's pretty much it. There's fences. We have the Apache Reservation to our east, the Navajo Reservation to our north, and all of Arizona south and west. And there is fences around that 250,000 acres. But if somebody's running cattle up there, they're going to come in your yard. So you had better be ready to fence them out. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's nobody you can take and go to and say, hey, your cows did this to my property. They have a right to be there.
John wants
Green Dream is installing some approved system with 3 barrels and a drum. Not exactly sure yet that whole system. So, John, the way that works on a 3 barrel system, we're talking about composting toilets here, guys. You use the first one and you add your cover, whatever that is, and cover is sawdust. You actually, it is what it says it is. You're covering your feces. You fill that barrel up, you shut it off, seal it off, and you go back to you go to the next one, and you go to the next one after, and by the time you get to the 3rd barrel, the 1st barrel should be ready to use for compost. I don't know about that. I'm not big on using human waste for compost. I mean, probably okay. I'm just not all there on that. Sorry. That's why I have outhouse. You fill it back in with sand, you build another one. Okay. Outhouse and outdoor shower. Outdoor shower in the summer is awesome. You can heat the water or you can do it straight cold, and we like it straight cold during the summer. It gets 95 degrees. You can take a shower, you cool right down, you feel refreshed. It's awesome. See what else we got here. Yes, on the outdoor shower. Don't get me started on the freaking towel. But they will break barbed wire, so get used to fixing the fence all the time. That's why if anybody follows my channel, I'm a big proponent of electric fences. There are
Solar.
solar solar
Solar
chargers
chargers.
out there that are powerful. You can put up an electric fence. I'm a big proponent of timeless fence. It's a PVC product. Love it. Put it up. You won't ever have to take and work on it again. And I guarantee you, they won't get into that fence but one time. That's it. Um, and they can shoot your dogs. Yes, Big Sky Night. They can. That's part of the fence outlaw. If your dogs get into somebody's cows, they can shoot your dogs. That is something. Starving cows and ranchers feed them too sad. I've never encountered that too much. It's been done for thousands of years, and it works just fine. Oh, the 3 barrel system. Yeah. Well, yeah. Humanure, I believe is what they call it. Humanure. Deal. Something about that just don't jive with me. We've covered quite a bit here. We're over an hour. Is there anything else you guys want to throw in? Anything you guys want to take and talk about? Our solar fence didn't keep the cows out of food forest. Huh?
I wasn't grounded right.
The key. I'm going to talk about this real quick. It's not the differences between. Well, it kind of is. In moisture climates, you can ground to the ground. So basically, what you're doing is you are driving a ground rod into the ground, and you are grounding your electric fence charger to the ground. Now, in dry climates, that doesn't work because there's no moisture. There has to be a certain amount of moisture. So I'm going to go through this real quick, and if anybody has questions, they can come back to me. In those moisture climates, when the animal touches the fence and the ground, the moisture that's in the ground actually grounds out and causes the spark. That's not the way to hook up an electric fence. I don't know how you did yours. You may totally have it hooked up this way, whatever. But if you have 3 strands, what we do is we hook directly hot, ground. So fence, ground, fence. So hot, ground, hot. So we'll run even 2 strands. You can do hot, ground. So when that animal comes in and touches those 2, they get a direct arc. Anybody ever seen a welder where you take and you've got the ground connected to one part and your welding rod touches and sparks? Okay? So when that animal touches those 2, the ground and the spark, they become the connector, and that full force of that electric shock goes through their body. I have seen it burn, and my son can contest this. It will burn you alive. He had a red mark on his thigh for days. I mean, it burned him. It literally burned him. If that animal touches those 2, if you've got a 15,000 volt charger, and there's plenty of solar chargers out there to do it, 2 joule charger, put it in those terms, 2 joules, you're going to burn that cow up. And I guarantee you they will not come back. Once they get burnt by it, they're not coming back. John, where are we at here?
Injuries.
Injuries. Injuries? I'm not sure. Not sure what that means. Human manure good for ornamental plants and trees, John Wolf said. Yeah, there again, I don't know. That didn't work. Thanks for any help. Okay. Yeah, I can walk you through that, Blissful Acres. It's that you have to have a really good solar charger, or if you have an electric charger, you're gonna want one with a really good amount of joules, really good amount of volts. RG says if you're interested in buying land in AZ, look before you leap and talk to locals before you purchase land. Look at the area. Take your time and stay. Yeah, come take a vacation. And I probably didn't finish that thought earlier. If you're looking at buying, take the time, take a vacation, go look, drive around. I know people who've done that and have forgot about it totally. Honestly, I have talked to them. They come out here. They love the area. They go, it's a great place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. And they give it up. They give it up. Great, will do. There are a lot of YouTubers out here in Arizona that just contact and they will be set up. That is one thing I can say about the YouTube community. I can say about everybody, even all these guys on here, and other people. Man, they will help you out. They will pass on knowledge to you. They will help you any way they can. They're great about that. YouTube is great about that. The people on there, I should say, not YouTube, but the people that are on YouTube, they're great about that. I have found very few people out here that are, you know, if you're doing the same thing they're doing, they're more than happy to jump in there and tell you everything they can tell you. So, off-grid injuries on the homestead. You better learn how to do some triage. um, good medical stop up on feed and supplies. Yeah. You can get stranded if you don't have. You need at least two vehicles. Um, some alternate transportation. Our alternate transportation is horses. I can ride 30 miles. Um, done it, and I can ride a horse 30 miles and I can get help. But you really need to take, if you don't have any first aid, I've been in, I was a corrections officer, I was a security officer, and we had to take first aid and first responders stuff. So I've got that kind of background of working in hospitals. So I know how to take care of an emergency. I know how to, get somebody stabilized where you can transport them. So if you don't have any of that, it's a good idea. Go take a CPR class. Go take a first responders class. Some first responders they'll put you through a weekend class, and some counties will do it for free. Some places will do it for free. Other places it does cost some money. But learn to do that because you are your backup. She has medical emergency. She goes into an anaphylactic shock. Um, if she eats the wrong thing, she's allergic to a lot of things, and she goes in anaphylactic shock. So I have to administer an EpiPen to her and then get her to an ER, get her to a medical service because they have to give her steroids and everything else. It's very scary. It hasn't happened in a long time. It has a whole lot to do with diet, the things that we eat. We try to eat healthy stuff, but you know, life happens. So it's really good. It's really, really good to have some first aid backup, have a good, clear mind. And that goes back to planning. Plan for those things, especially if you have small children, even if you have teenagers. I know some teenagers today, excuse me, but they can't find their butt with both hands. Okay? My kids grew up around ranches and farms and stuff like that, and I can send them out and they can pretty much take care of themselves. But there's a lot of kids out there today that don't. You need to take in, if you're going to drag your kid who's an Xbox junkie into the middle of the desert, and they don't know how to, administer first aid or deal with an emergency they've never had to, and their last resort's 911. Guess what? You are your 911. You need to plan for that. You need to put them in scenarios and say, okay, this is what you got to do and train them. Because if you don't, you could end up dead. That's just the plain truth. We got some other stuff here. Said good medical kit style. Okay, just remember you're going to be off grid and need solar system for power to live. Yeah. There's no where our homestead is. There's nothing. There's no power. There's no water. We can make a phone call. It's spotty, and you have to be in the right area. And there's a lot of places out there you don't have any internet service, even on your 4G. So, Blissful Homestead says alternative medical herbs, spotted silver, yeah, onions, yeah, yeah. First aid's a must, yeah. I really believe in homemade remedies. We use a lot of them. We use a lot of stuff that some people think we're crazy, but we use a lot of it. Um, One of the best things for like her is 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 eating preventative, eating right. When you're out there, if you don't eat right, if you don't get good sleep, if you don't stay hydrated, if you don't have those preventative things in place, you're going to be in trouble. Because if you get dehydrated, you get tired, you eat wrong, um, bad things can happen. Blissful Acre says creosote tea. That's the first one on me. I'm not sure what that is. Um, we eat a lot of garlic during the winter, during flu season. There's something I'm really wanting to try. It's called fire cider. I'm gonna make some of that. I'm gonna make some of that fire cider. But it's really good to boost your immune system. We eat a lot of hot chilies. Some people call them peppers. We eat a lot of those. We eat a lot of that stuff during the flu. And Nicole says, "Yep, fire cider." I'm excited about it. I seen a recipe for that the other day, and I'm wanting to try it. I got to get everything together to do it. John Wolf, so just how much land is money to land? Um, if you're just looking for a piece of property, it really depends on who you go through. If you've got the time to do research, you can pick up land for as cheap as $300 to $500 an acre. If you're wanting the process to be just real easy, we bought our land for $1,000 an acre. We got 10 acres, cost us $10,000. But our land broker, he pretty much goes to land on property and field. Oh, to land on property and field. Um, it's going to vary with what you're with what you're wanting. If you're single and you can get by primitively, you don't have to have that much money. If you've got, never mind the land, um, you're going to need a good vehicle that will haul water. You're going to need a way to haul water. You're going to need some type of structure. Um, you're going to need tools. You go out there with nothing, you're not going to get a whole lot done. You've got to have tools, the basics: chainsaws, axes, picks, shovels, that sort of thing. So you have to take and figure in those. I might do a comprehensive list on that and post it. I am going to do some lists on just like 72-hour bags, stuff to carry in your car. I'm gonna do some of those type videos. But it really depends. If you've got a family of 4, you're going to need at least 3 to 6 months of food. You're going to have to figure that in. So that's what Home said. A jackhammer, laugh out loud. Where we're at, we don't have any rock. I have found one rock about that big on our whole 10 acres, and I have walked the whole thing. A wood chipper. Oh man, I will tell you, if you have a wood chipper and you're doing dead cedar, it will eat the blades up on you. RG says we got homes 20 acres for 40 with a house that needs a lot of fixing up before it's okay to live in. And you're out. I think you're west. You're towards Flagstaff, right, RG? I believe that's right. I get some things messed up. I'm bad with names and places. So. Blissful says our 6 acres is 47,000 with a well. That well, RG, you're in Williams. Okay. RG, the Williams area. Yeah, well, I mean, in some places that well would be worth the 47,000. Never mind the 6 acres. Where we're at, wells out of the question. We're not. I mean, I ain't got $30,000 for what a well. And we're doing this all. That's the other thing. It depends, John. Going back to what you said, you got to list those things. Start listing them and say, I got to have this. I got to have this. I got to have this, and see what that. If you have those things, I would say 3 to 6 months of living expenses for sure. Good 14 with cabin and electric, 28,000. No well on site, but community well not far. Nicole says. That's pretty good. 14 acres with a cabin and electric. You're uptown, girl. So you've got to list those things. And if what you don't have, you need to fill in the blanks. And then I would say 3 to to 6 months of living expenses. And if you've got Big Scott and I got 38 acres with a well for 35,000, and you're near Sholo, I believe, right? Right, Steph? Big Sky? I think they're over towards Sholo. Just to kind of give people an idea of where you're from. That way they can kind of snowflake. I knew it started with an A. So look at the bill permits to start and get an idea of what you're walking into. Yeah, a septic in our part of the country is going to be between $3,000 and $5,000 depending on what you do with it. If there's no house there and no thing, you're gonna need an RV or some type of camper, and it needs to be pretty well built. Don't go out there with a camper that's falling apart. The wind will tear it all to pieces. Our building permits are fairly cheap. They're about $400 a month, or a month. I'm getting tired. $400 for a building permit, depending on the size and what you build. If you're looking at alternative building methods, they get cheaper. And solar, you can get by with 12 volt. When we lived off grid 20 years ago, everything was 12 volt. We did everything. I basically would charge a battery up in the car, and we had one at the house. We ran our lights. There again, we was in a 16 by 20, very tiny house. Our TV, we had a little 5-inch 12 volt TV, black and white, which we didn't watch very much, to be honest with you. We played cards. We lived outside. You can get by with a very small house on the desert because there's a lot of outdoor living space. You throw up a shade, throw up a little gazebo. You can cook outside. You can live outside. It's awesome. This one says we will keep septic and set up gray water for gardening. That's another good point. You can run your gray water in Arizona. You can take and run your gray water into your garden. So I'm going to end this up here in just a little while. If anybody has any other comments they'd like to share, I really enjoyed this. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I get distracted a little bit. But there again, I'm working on an AT&T phone. This is a hotspot. For some reason, my daughter's computer, I thought it would be better than mine. Hers is newer, but it did not. And I had to pull mine out real quick and get hooked up. So I'm going to try to do this every Saturday and just bring up a topic, and we'll just all throw in there. Thanks, great help and informative. If there's anything else we can do for you, just drop us a line. It's changed over the time. It's 24 volts and going to 48 volts. But again, that's going to cost you some big bucks to start looking. Okay, yeah. You're talking about RJ. You're talking about your solar system changing over from 24 to 48 volts. We just ran 12 volts. There's a lot of different things out there. And just to end this up, one of the biggest differences in having amenities, having electric, having all those things, and moving to the desert, you learn how to get by on less. And that's probably important. Get ready. Get in the mindset. Wean yourself off. If you're living in suburbia, wean yourself off. Leave the lights off. Don't turn them on at 9 o'clock, or whatever time it gets dark for you. Leave it off. Shut the TV off. Disconnect from DirecTV, Dish Network, whatever service you have. Disconnect from it. So try that, and start weaning yourself off, particularly if you have teenagers, particularly if you have kids that are used to all those amenities. Wean them off. Get them off of it. Nicole, so you guys have a great night. Thanks, Nicole, for stopping by. Appreciate everybody. We're going to wind this up, and we're going to wind it up. Y'all have a good evening. Thank you guys for stopping by. Thanks for all your comments. Remember, before you leave, give us a thumbs up if you haven't already. And God bless you guys. Okay. And we'll try it again next week, and I'll have another topic, and we'll all jump in there. Appreciate you guys. Thanks. Good night. Good night.